I was 15 when I spent Halloween weekend at my friend Chrissy's place in Ridgemont, a quiet town that felt cut off from the rest of the world. The kind of place where time moved slower, and the nights seemed darker than they should. The houses sat far apart, wrapped in tall trees that swallowed the streetlights. You could hear leaves scraping across the asphalt for blocks. That night, we went trick-or-treating even though we were probably too old for it. Chrissy's mom didn't mind. She said as long as we stayed in the neighborhood and came back by 10, it was fine. We threw on lazy costumes. I wore a skeleton hoodie, and she had a plastic clown mask she'd found in her garage. We laughed about how lame we looked, grabbed pillowcases, and set out. By 9:30, we were done. Most houses were dark. Our bags were half full, and we were heading back when we saw one house still lit on the corner of Marlowe Street. It stood apart from the others, larger, older, with vines climbing the porch rail. A single orange light burned above the door, and fog from a nearby machine drifted across the yard. There were no decorations, no music, no kids, just that one light. "Last one," Chrissy said. "Looks sketchy," I told her. She grinned behind the mask. "That's why it'll be good candy." We walked up the steps. The porch creaked under our feet. When Chrissy pressed the doorbell, it didn't chime. It made a dull buzz, like an old intercom. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then footsteps, slow, heavy, coming closer. The door opened. A man stood there, maybe 50, tall, wearing a cardigan and jeans. His hair was gray at the sides, and his smile was the first thing I noticed. Wide, but wrong. It didn't reach his eyes. "Well, look at you two," he said softly. "You're late to the party." Chrissy lifted her pillowcase. "Trick or treat," she said, jokingly polite. The man's eyes flicked between us. "Oh," I left the bowl inside. "Come in for a second. It's cold out there." I laughed nervously. "We're good, sir." He tilted his head, still smiling. "Nonsense. Won't take a second." It was one of those moments you replay later, the weird silence, the tension between politeness and instinct. I felt Chrissy hesitate next to me. We both knew it wasn't right, but we didn't want to seem rude. We were 15. We still trusted adults more than we should have. So we stepped inside. The air smelled stale like dust and something faintly metallic. The entryway was dark except for a lamp near the end of the hall. He gestured toward a side door. "Bowl's just down there," he said, voice calm, almost kind. "Don't trip, the floor's uneven." Chrissy glanced at me, shrugged, and started forward. I followed, my heartbeat quickening. The house was quiet, too quiet. No TV, no furnace hum, no background noise. Just our footsteps and the faint creak of wood. When the man closed the front door behind us, it sounded louder than it should have. The hall ended at a small kitchen. On the counter sat a plastic pumpkin bowl full of candy. Relief hit me for a second. It was actually there. Chrissy laughed, reaching for a chocolate bar. "Told you, full size." That's when we heard it. The sound of a lock sliding into place. We turned. The man stood in the doorway, smiling that same frozen smile. "Where are you girls from?" he asked. Just visiting," Chrissy said. He nodded slowly. "Visiting. That's nice." He took a step closer. The floorboards groaned. Something about the way he moved made my skin crawl. Controlled, deliberate, like he was careful not to startle us. "You know," he said softly, "I used to love Halloween." "My kids did too," he laughed once, a dry sound that died in the air. "They're all grown now. Miss having company." Chrissy looked at me. I could tell she wanted to leave, but didn't know how. I forced a smile. "Thanks for the candy, sir. We should get going." The man's eyes shifted toward the side door near the fridge. Why rush? I've got cider in the cellar. You girls like cider? My stomach nodded. The air suddenly felt thicker. Chrissy said, "No thanks, really, He cut her off. "Come on, just a minute, you'll love it." He reached out, lightly touching Chrissy's shoulder. That tiny gesture, the casual touch, made something snap inside me. I grabbed Chrissy's sleeve and yanked him back. "Thanks," I said quickly, "but our parents are waiting." The man's smile didn't move. His eyes flicked down to my hand, gripping Chrissy's arm. For a heartbeat, no one spoke. Then he lunged. It wasn't dramatic or fast, just a sudden, horrible motion. His hand shot out, gripping Chrissy's wrist, trying to pull her toward the cellar door. Chrissy yelled, twisted, knocking over the candy bowl. I slammed into the man's side with everything I had. We hit the counter hard. Something cracked, a glass maybe. He grabbed my hoodie, pulling me off balance, muttering, stop it," under his breath, not angry, just desperate. His strength was unreal. Chrissy kicked the doorframe, breaking free. "Run," she shouted. I shoved the man's arm and sprinted after her. We bolted down the hallway. Behind us, the man yelled. No words, just a raw, broken sound. The front door latch stuck for a second, then gave way, and we stumbled onto the porch, tripping down the steps. We didn't stop running until we reached the next street. My lungs burned. Chrissy's clown mask was gone. She kept saying, holy shit," over and over. We ducked behind a car and called 911 from my phone. When the police arrived, the man's house was dark again. They found him sitting calmly in the kitchen, the candy bowl back on the counter. The cellar door was open. Inside were 3 folding chairs, a small table, and a single light bulb hanging from the ceiling. The officer who took our statement said there was nothing illegal about that. But the way he said it told me he didn't believe it either. They questioned the man for hours. He told them we'd come in on our own, said we were causing trouble, throwing things. He denied touching us. There wasn't enough to charge him, so they had to let him go. We went home with our parents. Chrissy's mom didn't let her out of her sight for weeks. 2 months later, people in the neighborhood stopped talking about it. Kids took the long way around that block. Even Chrissy refused to say the man's name anymore. Every Halloween since, I've checked the news around Ridgemont. Nothing ever comes up. No arrests, no missing people, no explanation. But sometimes, when I drive past that exit on the highway, I see that same faint orange glow through the trees. The porch light's still on, like he's waiting for someone else to ring the bell. I'd spent the night trick-or-treating with my friends in a small town called Maple Hollow. My best friend that year was Tyler. His neighborhood was packed with kids and porch lights, and every house smelled like pumpkin candles and cold air. It was the perfect Halloween, until the night ended. We'd planned for me to stay over at Tyler's, but his mom changed her mind at the last minute. "Sorry, 1 guest is enough," she said. Another friend, Liam, had already claimed the couch. She offered to call my parents, but I didn't want to make a fuss. "It's fine," I said. "I'll just bike home." It was about a 30-minute ride back to my place. My parents knew the route, and I had my phone, so nobody worried. Tyler even tried to convince me to stay until morning, but I didn't want to argue with his mom. I packed my candy bag into my backpack, said goodbye, and rolled my bike out into the cool night air. The streets were quiet. Most of the jack-o'-lanterns had burned down to little orange smudges of light. The only sounds were my tires on the asphalt and the soft rattle of candy wrappers in my bag. There are 2 ways home from Tyler's. One is the main road. Smooth pavement, street lights, a few houses scattered along the way. The other is County Road 17, an old rural stretch that cuts through cornfields and saves about 10 minutes. No lights, No houses. Just flat dirt and endless walls of tall corn. When I reached the crossroads, I slowed down. The sign for County Road 17 leaned slightly to the left, half hidden by branches. I remember staring into the dark stretch of road. The first few meters were still lit by the town's glow, but beyond that was nothing but black. I hesitated. The longer road felt safe, but dull. The shortcut would get me home faster, and it was cold. The kind of cold that seeps through your sleeves. I took a deep breath, switched my bike light on, and turned left onto the rural road. The beam from my light hit dust and air. Everything around me turned silver gray. The cornfields rose on both sides, high and close. The only thing above them was the moon. I put in my AirPods and hit play, some random playlist just to have noise, and started to pedal faster. For the first few minutes, it was fine. Just me, the wind, the crunch of gravel under the tires. The road dipped slightly, then straightened again. The further I went, the quieter everything got. No crickets, no dogs. Even my own music sounded like it was underwater. About halfway through, I noticed something ahead. A faint shape in the distance, white against the black field. At first, I thought it was a scarecrow, or maybe a sheet someone left hanging. But as I got closer, I saw it move. I slowed down. My light flicked over it, and the white turned into a face. Not a normal one, a mask. A rough, stitched cloth mask with hollow black eyes and a painted grin that stretched too wide. The kind of thing you'd see in an old slasher movie. The figure stepped out from the cornfield and into the road, slowly. I braked hard, gravel spitting out beneath my tires. My heart was pounding so loud I could feel it in my throat. The man didn't move closer at first. He just stood there, head tilted, that black smiled mask staring straight at me. My mouth was dry. "What do you want?" I shouted. My voice cracked halfway through. The man didn't answer. He just started walking toward me. Steady, silent steps. I turned the bike around so fast the front wheel twisted sideways and I nearly fell. My hands were shaking so bad I couldn't get the pedals right. I glanced over my shoulder. He was faster now, almost jogging. I jumped off the bike and ran straight into the cornfield. The stalks whipped my face, the leaves cut at my arms. I didn't know where I was going. I just ran. The ground was soft, uneven, full of roots and holes. My music was still playing in one earbud, some upbeat pop song that sounded insane in the middle of that darkness. After maybe a minute, I stopped. My chest burned. I yanked the earbuds out and listened. Nothing. Then, faintly, a sound. Corn stalks rustling, slow, getting closer. I crouched low, trying to quiet my breathing. The noise stopped too. For a second, I thought maybe it was just the wind. Then something brushed the corn a few rows over, closer now, deliberate. I turned my head toward the sound. The moonlight hit just enough of the space between the stalks for me to see him. That same mask. Those black eyes. 5, maybe 6 feet away. He wasn't moving anymore, just standing there, watching me. The smile on the mask looked even bigger up close. I don't remember deciding to run. My legs just did it. I tore through the corn, branches snapping against my arms. I could hear him crashing behind me now, heavier steps pounding through the stalks. Every breath sounded like a scream. The edge of the field came into view, the road, the faint glint of my bike's metal frame. I sprinted the last stretch, burst onto the dirt, and threw myself onto the bike. My hand slipped on the handlebars, but somehow I got it upright. I started pedaling, hard. When I looked back, he was on the road, running, still wearing that stitched grin. I pedaled harder than I ever had in my life. My legs felt like they were tearing apart. I didn't stop. I didn't even think, just the sound of wind, gravel, and the faint pounding of footsteps fading behind me. When I hit the edge of town and saw the first streetlight, I almost cried. I didn't stop until I reached my driveway. I dropped the bike and ran straight into the house. My parents were half asleep on the couch. When I told them what happened, they exchanged that look adults give each other when they're trying not to laugh. My dad said it was probably some drunk teenager pulling a prank. My mom said I'd scared myself with shadows. I wanted to believe them. I showered, climbed into bed, and tried to forget it. But the next morning, when I went outside, there was something wedged in the spokes of my bike wheel. A small strip of fabric, rough and gray. The same material as the mask. I threw it in the trash, locked my bike in the shed, and never rode down County Road 17 again.